Hello and welcome to the Fairhaven Church Parent Talks podcast, where we desire to equip and empower you to lead well in your home. Today, I'm joined by Justin, who is at the Springboro campus as the campus pastor.
That's true. That has happened.
So you are so lucky to be joining us here on the Kid and Student Parent Talks podcast.
It's the biggest blessing I could have asked for. I've been hoping this would happen.
I know, you've missed it. It's actually been a little while.
It has been a little while, yeah.
So welcome
It's been
back.
a couple months.
Yeah, welcome back.
And thanks for the couple months. It was great. I was on a beach. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, no, you weren't.
I was working.
But that would be nice. And we're joined by Caleb,
Yeah, thanks.
Centerville students.
I was on a beach recently.
Heck yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, in Michigan.
Oh, you went to Lake Michigan?
Yeah, went to Holland.
Oh.
That's in Europe.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up.
Same.
So, yes,
Kind
same.
of.
Well, anyways, we're not siblings or anything. Just
No.
happen to grow up in the same location.
Like 15 minutes away from each other, probably.
Yeah, so
What?
funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
really close.
Wow.
Well, not 50,
Didn't realize it was
probably
that
like
close.
30.
Eh,
That's, close enough for me.
Isn't that funny?
That's
though?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun
And
fact.
okay, fun fact, actually, because this kind of ties to my question. When you text me on your phone,
mhm.
your area code is a Michigan number.
It is.
It throws me off every time. I'm
so
like,
what I learned
who?
is Kristen doesn't have my number saved.
No, but I do.
And your license plate is still Indiana.
It is.
For reasons we don't have time to get into.
It's so
crazy.
weird.
Yeah, we don't talk
But
about that.
actually,
He is
I do
all
have
the
your
Great
name
Lakes.
saved, so I don't know. But it's I know it's on
On
my
your
computer,
laptop?
on my
Yeah.
laptop, because
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
save
Mine
your
don't
name, and I'll be
transfer
like,
either.
who
Yeah.
from home is texting me?
616.
It's Caleb.
Shout out Hudsonville.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's so funny. So goes with my question, because this is what I'm asking today. Where are you from? And what is a specific way that you think growing up there has influenced you, like even today, has had like an impact on who you are today?
Yeah, I was born in Cincinnati, but I grew up really, really close to here in Bellbrook. A lot of people from church here are from Bellbrook. So beautiful Greene County, Ohio has been was my home growing up ever since I was 4. And I think it's affected me in many ways. In that Skyline is the best food, Grater's is the best ice cream, Boston Stoker is the best coffee. So I don't know, whatever makes you from here, I definitely have that. I tried really hard. I went to Virginia for college. I changed my residency to Virginia, voted in Virginia, planned to stay in Virginia. And it was the Lord's goodwill that I come home to Ohio, apparently, because I did my best to not do it. And now I
Yes.
really appreciate it.
Yes, that's funny. What about you?
It depends on how I answer this question. I grew up in
Yeah.
Corona, California. I spent the first 11 years of my life there. That's the longest I've lived in any one place. So that's where I claim. So I haven't been influenced by the warm weather.
Yeah.
I don't like the cold. And these like 95-degree days are great. I love them.
Wow.
I thrive in them.
Wow.
And probably also where I got my love for Disneyland, because I used to have season passes growing up.
Okay.
And at the time, they're the price of a Kings Island pass today.
Yeah.
So
a little different.
I was 20 minutes from Anaheim, and we go
Wow.
on like a Sunday after church.
That's just crazy.
That was my life. Not the same here.
Jelly.
Not.
I'm totes jelly of that.
I was like 30 minutes from the beach, 30 minutes from Disneyland, 30 minutes from Angels baseball games.
Yeah. Living the life.
Pretty much. Now here we are.
Here we are in a better place. So the weather, I mean, I relate to in the fact that I love the snow. Like for me, when it's the first snow, I'm so giddy. Like
That's
I'm the
awesome.
happiest person in the whole world. And if we get feet of snow, like you probably won't ever see me happier
That's
than
amazing.
feet. of
When
snow.
I
love
moved-
it so much.
I moved from Corona, California to Hudsonville, Michigan, and we moved in January. It snowed for 30 days straight.
Yeah, it did.
And our Christmas Eve in California was like 80 degrees or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's my life.
Remarkable.
That's so funny.
It was something.
The
30
other thing
days.
that I haven't adjusted to, I've lived in Ohio for 20 years. I can't get over the pop versus soda thing, because we say pop in Michigan. We say, I'm not even in Michigan. I've lived in Ohio longer, but we say pop growing up in Michigan. Here, everybody says soda.
I grew
And
up
it throws
saying
me
pop.
off. Really?
And then I got made fun of in Virginia for it. So I have switched to soda as self-defense.
Really?
Yeah, totally. Maybe just my family, maybe just my own friends. But I feel the same. Like in my heart, it's pop for
See,
sure.
in California, I called it soda. When I moved to Michigan, I got made fun of for calling it soda.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's pop in Michigan.
Let's all just be nicer to each other. What if we did that?
Let's do that. But
That is biblical.
it confuses me because I worked in an ice cream shop, and a soda was a kind of like ice cream drink thing. And so why are you giving that look?
That's devastating. It's so confusing.
It's not.
I'm confused right now.
Our listeners are.
Pop.
Yes.
Pop.
It's definitely
Soda.
pop. The only other thing I was going to say, because someone pointed it out to me a couple weeks ago, was I say certain vowel sounds differently. Being from
There's some
Michigan.
Michigan hint in there, even in vowel, and how you said it just now.
Oh, really?
I'm noticing it. Yeah, it's subtle though.
So
You've
it's
been
definitely
Ohioized.
the A sound.
Yeah.
So like balance. Like balance, that's literally how I say it. And I
Yeah.
have to try to correct I have to be very cognizant of how I say it around people because they'll wait, what did you say? Say it again, you know?
How do you say the soda that's in a float, usually? The word, how do you say root beer?
Root beer.
Oh, in Michigan, a lot of people would say rut
beer,
Or
yeah.
instead of creek, they'd say crick.
Yeah, my grandma, crick
Yeah.
and a roof. Or
A rough.
A roof. Yeah, a roof. That's what it was, not a roof. So
Yeah.
lots
Amazing.
of things about where we grow up, right? And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. We're actually starting a new series. And so we have a new verse, which is Lamentations 3:22 through 23, which is so familiar, but man, this is a verse that I go back to all the time. In fact, I was meeting with somebody on Monday and we were having a conversation and we both recited this verse just based on what we were talking about. It's such a great and powerful reminder, but it says, "The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning." And so I would encourage you to memorize that verse with your family. It's such a great one that you'll go back to time and time again. But over the last few weeks, we've learned about Daniel and his friends and the way that they obeyed God even while they were in exile in Babylon. And through this series, we're going to learn about God's continued faithfulness to his people. So Caleb, I'm asking you to kind of start out this conversation. And can you provide some context to the book of Ezra and also a reminder of why the Israelite people were in exile?
Yep. So the Israelites, I think it was 2 series ago, I think we talked about how the kingdom had been divided. It split in two. And then the Israelites they kept rebelling. They were in rebellion against God and they kept worshiping other idols or other gods. And so eventually Babylon takes over. They capture them. They destroy Judah. They destroy the temple and take them as captives. And so that's how they ended up in exile, as we read this past series in Daniel. And now, as we get into Ezra, this is like the post-exile part of it. And so they're able to come home after 70 years in exile. And they get to go home and rebuild the temple. And so the king of Persia at the time is Cyrus. He was moved by God to allow them to be freed. And this fulfills a promise that was made back in Jeremiah 25 about them being able to return home. So here we get to see one of God's promises fulfilled. So the first 6 chapters, we read about Zerubbabel. His name means planted in Babylon because he was born in captivity. And so he leads the people back to Jerusalem to start the rebuilding process of the altar and the temple, and the altar where they can make sacrifices, and then the temple, and then Ezra 7. So that's the first 6 chapters, and Ezra 7 is 60 years later, and Ezra comes back and is disappointed to see that they're still in rebellion. And so the Israelites have been mingling with other people groups and marrying people of other religions, which had happened previously. So we see that they'd physically returned to their land in Ezra, but spiritually they still hadn't returned home to God in some ways. And so Ezra then has to come back to them and be like, what are you guys doing? And teach them.
Yeah. So I think it's good that we kind of pull this apart a little bit and dig in because there's some really cool opportunities for us to learn through how God works in reading through Ezra. And so, Justin, in Ezra 1, there's a ton in Ezra 1, actually. So what happens that finally allows the people to go home? Because God works in mysterious ways, and that's what he does in Ezra 1.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that happens that lets them go home is that the king of Persia says, "You can go home." It's simple, and yet it's so unbelievably amazing. Babylon's taken over by Persia, and there's a new king in charge. They have a totally different way of handling how they rule people, and God stirs the heart of this king to let the people go back. It's not like, okay, since you asked, I'll make an exception. He just decrees it. This is how I want my kingdom to go. It's an unbelievable thing, and we have to take from that that this captivity of the people of Israel was superintended by the Lord. Like he was navigating the whole thing. To the people of Israel, it felt like we lost everything. Our homeland is gone. We're in captivity. We're never going to go back. Our captors are captors now. Like now Babylon's taken over from Persia. It's devastating. It's all gone. Yet the Lord's intention carries out all the way through. And he even says he allows Babylon to be judged by Persia while he's doing this. He can handle all of that at the same time while also fulfilling his promise for his people to return home. So he can use a pagan king. He can stir his heart to send the people of God home to fulfill his purposes. And that king, he probably thought he was just the best king ever, and he's doing this decree, and it makes him a great king. But the Lord stirred his heart to do it. And so the Lord's purposes, it doesn't matter if your politics fail. It doesn't matter if your version of the future fails. The Lord can work his intention in the world regardless of our own circumstances. So that not only is like, okay, wow, this happened. This is also the fulfillment of prophecy. Caleb mentioned Jeremiah 25, and 150 years before all of this takes place, in Isaiah chapter 44, Cyrus, this king who changes his mind, is mentioned by name by the prophet Isaiah. In the NLT, 44:28 says, Isaiah 44:28 says, when speaking about the Lord, when I say of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, he will certainly do as I say. He will command, rebuild Jerusalem. He will say, restore the temple. So that's not to say that he's like the actual shepherd of the Lord, but he's the one who is going to be used by the Lord to shepherd his people back home. And mentioned by name in advance, around 150 years, this is clearly God's purpose for his people to allow him to go home.
And I love the reminder of it being a pagan king who God works through, not someone who's like, okay, Lord, I'm praying for your will. What is your will for your people? It's just God used someone who we would never expect him to use in order to fulfill his will and his desires for his people, which you mentioned like a list of several ways where that's true for us today. But that's such an important truth for us to remember is like, God can and does work through any circumstance. He will, like
any.
Yeah.
Your whole people can be devastated and removed from the promised land and moved away, and he's unfazed. His purpose is unfazed.
Absolutely.
And Caleb mentioned Jeremiah chapter 25, and a lot of people quote Jeremiah chapter 29:11, when it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you," says the Lord. And that's the Lord speaking in a shepherding way to his people, but the context of that is huge. We have to remember that his promise for his people to prosper them is not without difficulty happening along the way, but his promise stood all the way through.
Yep, I love that. So we're now journeying into chapter 3, really. We've seen a lot happen, a lot take place. But one of the things that we're going to talk a little bit about is how in this part of their journey or story, we see some brokenness restored for the people. So talk to us about what that looks like.
Yeah, so in chapter 3, I think a lot of people think they go straight to the temple and start to rebuild it, but they don't do that first. Instead, they start building the altar first instead of the foundation of the temple. And the altar gives them a place to repent of their sins through animal sacrifices. And in Babylon, they didn't have their own designated altar that they could go to. So this was a chance for them to be in a right relationship with God, even though later on we start to see their failings again. But in this moment, they're restoring the altar that symbolizes their desire to be in a right relationship with God. And then they start rebuilding the temple, and all these people come together. This whole community comes together to start building the foundation. And some of the older people, some of the older priests, the people in their group started to weep as they had remembered this old temple, the original temple, and maybe some of it was grieving the what they didn't have anymore. And it was a little bit smaller than what they were used to with Solomon's temple. But then there was a ton of praising because the foundation had been made. So all of this ruin that they had come back to was being remade and restored. And so it's really cool symbolism and great for these people.
Yes.
I like to think of it's like the people coming back it's like another Exodus. That's one thing we'll talk about with our kids and students. It's another time that the people of God are called out of captivity and back to the promised land, back to his presence. And there's this journey that we can see that I think the Lord wants us to see through this in the scripture, that we're always called to return to his presence. Like because he knows us, he knows how we'll mess up.
Yeah.
And yet there's always a place before him, a place to worship him. And now we know that place isn't just a place in Jerusalem, but a place with anywhere. His Spirit is anywhere. And we're called to live that pattern that we see the people of God go through here, where they mess up and they return to an altar. They return to worship. And that matters so much for us today, because there's a million reasons to not return to worship. There's a million reasons that we're too busy, we're too stressed, we don't like something about it, whatever it is. But there's this spiritual imperative that we have to leave our captivity, leave what holds us down, and return to worship, to gather together with the people of God. What must it have been like to be 16 years old and seeing the elders weeping? In there, like that, an experience that in a way we can have today by coming to worship together.
Yeah, so we understand, we see it, how important it is to worship together. But the reality is, we live in a culture that tells us we don't need to actually prioritize that. We don't need to. I mean, you even hear people say, I'm just doing church at home. I don't need anybody else around me to, be in relationship with a God or to worship, which is true. We have our own personal relationship with the Lord. But community and coming together in worship is so important. And so I guess, something I want to discuss is, we know it's important. And if so, how do we prioritize the coming together to worship as a community when our culture keeps pulling us away from it, away from that as a priority in our lives? I mean, the reality is there are things happening around us all the time that are oh, it's not really a big deal if you don't go to church. It's not, is it really you haven't been there for 6 months, no big deal. But that's not true. Yeah. The coming together to worship God, the one true God, is critical. So how do we help in that discussion to point people to that new priority or a renewed priority?
Yeah. I don't think the Israelites woke up one day and were just I'm done following Yahweh. We're done today. And I think through their culture, it was this gradual process that they were being pulled away and started to mingle with all these other groups and religions and idols. Yeah. And it happens to us where it's how did we even get here? Yeah. This sports season really got out of control, or this homework has been really intense for my kids. And so we stopped coming on Wednesday nights. And so all of a sudden it's whoa, we haven't been in 6 months. And so I think we need to remind ourselves, like you said, we absolutely need our own personal and private time with Jesus, but we also need to do it together. And so when our students or our kids are struggling with something in their lives, they have a community of people around them, whether it's small group leaders or their peers or other people that can be pouring into them. They need those relationships. They need to be held accountable. To have a friend in junior year of high school to be hey, you haven't been at student ministries in 4 months. Where have you been? Yeah. We need those people in our lives to pull us back in when they see that we're starting to pull away.
Yeah, that's good.
I think an important thing to remember is think of it in the context of this story. All the people worshiping together, the elders weeping, the young people what is going on? Man, it's easy for us to get into a mindset of saying, what would I get from it if I went? But we need to ask the Lord and help our students see, who's needing you right now?
Yes.
Who needs the wisdom of what God has brought you through? And you're going to be the one to be there, to be the elder, metaphorically in the story or literally, to share what God has done. Yeah. And we have not just the ability to do that, we have the responsibility to do that. I am responsible to proclaim and testify to what God has accomplished in my life, what he has rescued me from, what he has saved me towards, like all of these things. I'm not responsible to keep that for myself and keep accumulating experiences with God for me. Man, what if Caleb needs to hear something that God said to me? That's why we got to gather, and we got to help a student see that just because you're in 11th grade, or a kid, just because you're in 4th grade, that doesn't mean that you don't have a profound experience of God that people can benefit from.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. I hope that we can continue to be a church that really prioritizes prioritizes the importance of coming together, worshiping together, and building community, because it's through that we also have an opportunity to make God known. I mean, these are things that we say are essential here at Fairhaven. And so it's just, as you guys are talking and being reminded of the true importance of the accountability, or like being here to be a friend for someone else, or whatever it might be, we hope that you'll prioritize church as a family, and that we'll continue doing that too. It's not just because we're on staff doesn't always make that easy either. But next week, we're going to finish up the book of Ezra, and we're going to discuss what I call Haggai, but not everybody says it that way. Another Michigan thing, probably. And we will see what takes place as they're working to build the temple.